Saige,
Yeah.
you're homeless. We're by the road here, so you're going to have to speak up a little bit. I gave you a pair of socks, and we started to talk, and then I gave you my business card, and you started to cry. And I've never had that happen before. And it was because you recognized invisible people and you were grateful for the work. They were happy tears.
They were very happy tears. And because the socks actually weren't for me, they were a friend here that had a really, really hard time. But the business card, that's for me because I have a plan to get myself out of this. But I've seen some of the episodes that you've done, and I feel like you make a big difference because you bring such an important subject to people. I'm just going to say normal people living on the outside and living their normal lives can see the reality of this sort of situation. And I love to read comments, so I go down and I read all those comments, and I think the awareness needs to grow because to me, to be very honest with you, money isn't actually the fix. And I mean, there's people out here with drug problems, with mental problems, or they just, fell on hard times and couldn't make, their last paycheck was gone, they got fired, and boom, their life is different. And so, but everybody needs something different, and so the answers are a little complicated. But the awareness is what's important because a lot of it does come down to love and just human dignity. And so I respect what you do, and I have felt that a lot. Like the love and human dignity is so paramount to what people need, and so.
And you're spot on because there are so many different types of homelessness and so many different types of people. And if you went into the suburbs, you'd find addiction and mental illness and domestic violence and everything else. But they remained housed because they had a safety net. They had somebody to borrow rent from. They had somebody to sleep on a couch. They had somebody that was that stopgap so that they didn't sleep in a park. That's the only difference. People are people, and we're complicated, and everybody needs that help to get their life back to where it was. Whether you're housed or homeless, we all need help.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm a different type of person, and which is, all of us are, but I mean, I have had friends offer different things at different times, but nobody can be like your saving grace, and I have certain beliefs and as far as the government, as far as politics, whatever, right? And I don't like to have somebody do for me what I should be doing for myself. So that's a challenge, but
you said that you're homeless off and on for a long time, but it's only because of the last couple of years that you've accepted that you're actually homeless. And one thing that really stuck with me that while you were telling me that is the difference is you've tried to get out and you haven't been able to.
Yeah.
So now you've accepted I'm homeless. I want out of here, but I'm not able to find the support I need to get out of here. So now you're accepting that you actually are a homeless person. And I don't mean that in any derogatory way.
Yeah. I'm just going to give you a condensed version of what brought me here, but because there is help in different ways, but I don't know how to explain it, so I'll just give you my story, and whatever you can make of it is what you can make of it, okay? Again, we're all different. I've never taken a drug in my life. I've never had a sip of alcohol. Like, there's so many things about me that people are like, what? Why are you here? What's going on? You know what I mean? And I can talk very well. So some people, you know, they're just like, they wouldn't imagine that. And yet, here I am. So,
did you go to college?
yeah, I graduated with a business degree, you know. But the thing is, so I was telling you, I had traveled, actually. I traveled around the world for about 2 years, 2.5 years before I got back to my home. And it was amazing. It was awesome, backpack, 2 pair of clothes. I was dirty all the time. I was as happy as could be.
Younger.
Living on absolutely nothing, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. I got to stay in homes of every people I visited, and that was what I always wanted. So I had tribal experiences. That was my thing. Survival. I love that. And I came back home and was home for a while, and friends moved their ways and stuff like that, so I didn't have that support group anymore. I didn't have that connection anymore, which was a huge thing for me. I was done with college, so I was in a huge transitional point, and then some things happened in my personal circle of people in my life.
Trauma.
And yeah, I had some things happen that was I've had a lot of traumas in my life, but that was the biggest for me, and it was very traumatic, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And so, anyways, long story short, but I did end up buying a boat, and I was in Yuma, Arizona, and it's 120 degrees, and I have no amenities and nothing. I don't even have a phone, and I just laid there for like 9 months, just trying to deal with it. And so,
was that a good experience or a bad experience?
No, it wasn't good. I mean, it would have been nice.
Being in a boat.
Everybody else enjoyed the boat, but I was
depressed.
I was broken, so.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, I tried for many years after that to get over it. Now, if you knew me, I am like the cheapest person in the world. People like to say thrifty because they don't like the word cheap. Whatever you want to call it, I can live on a penny. And so I had some savings, and I do believe in doing for yourself what you can do for yourself. I believe in giving, and I do believe in charity, but I don't believe you should accept it when you can do it for yourself. It's just, and I'm not saying people should or shouldn't, but it's just something in my head. So I saved, and so I started living off that savings, and I would buy and sell cars every so often, and then I would live off of, the money I made off of that, which was little, but I could live off of $1,000 a year, to be honest.
You were hustling.
So, yeah, but I was also, living here and there, so I wasn't, sometimes I was paying, like I'd have a trailer or something like that, but I pay a little bit of rent. But like with the boat, for example, it had no amenities or anything, so I was living in these extreme situations. Sometimes I had a trailer, sometimes I had a van, sometimes I had the boat, sometimes, it was a couch surfing, sometimes it just all sorts of different things. But I just couldn't get over what was going on, and I had 2 good friends who tried, and that's why I say, it's not like nobody's ever tried to help me, and it's not like there's not some offer, but I don't want to accept something, especially financially, when I have 2 hands and 2 feet, that's...
So you're trying to up yourself.
Yeah, what I want, and this is my message, everybody's story is different, so you can't say this is the monolith of homelessness, what this girl experiences. But for me personally, I want to help myself, so I want to bring the resources, and I might need some of your time and talents, but I don't want you to give me everything, right? I want some of your time and talent maybe, but that's about it. I watched a YouTube video on depression, the guy talked about, all the drugs that people can take. And then he talked about this Cambodian man where the village just came together and got this man a cow. And it was the cow that allowed that man to work every day, and bring in money so that his dignity was still there. And that's what I think is the most important thing about the homeless situation and things like that. You have people out here who have major mental problems. I have mental, but it's not the same, right? I have major depression problems and things like that, but it's not the same. You have people who have the drug problems. You have people who've just fallen on hard times. There's a variety, but I think there's a subset of people that don't often get talked about, which actually I believe fits into all categories, but this very particular subset is people who just need dignity and love. So
that might not be a subset. That might be everybody.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I do believe it falls into everybody, but even if you gave a drug addict dignity and love, like, he may still not get off the drug.
Well,
right?
It might take a while. You got to love on people until they can love themselves.
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
Okay. There you go. There you go then. And so everybody's story is different.
Right.
And what your bottom was, your rock bottom, or what your epiphany was, or whatever, you were telling me that it was purpose.
Yeah.
You needed purpose.
Well, I needed purpose. That's why Invisible People started.
And that's exactly what's happening to me. So over that 10 years, I've watched more YouTube than probably any person on this planet, okay? Literally, because that was my drug. To be honest with you, I've never done a drug in my life. I've never had a sip of alcohol. I have a hard time, even my friends try to press me to take an aspirin for a headache.
Yeah.
So, but YouTube became my drug. And now, one way or another, because there's all sorts of purposes. You can fight child trafficking, you can fight, sex trafficking, you can fight slavery, you can, all these things. I finally feel like I have a purpose that will help people. Yeah. And so that's what I'm starting now. But as time has gone by, like you said, I never thought of myself as homeless for the longest time, because when I was traveling and having these adventures, like, my physical status was very much similar.
Well, it was nomadic.
Yes, it was very nomadic and dirty and very little and very minimal and cheap and all of those things. But over time, as I tried to get out of this situation multiple times, I would get hit worse and worse and worse. Like, every time I got out, my friend who's watched some of this, like, they literally cannot believe the stories that happened to me. Like, it's crazy.
So, always when a plane goes over, because you got a business degree, you're smart, you're attractive.
But there's a lot of people out here like that.
I know, but people are going to say, why not just go get a job?
And here's my reality. I have had a job, and so I'm going to put it to you like this, okay? I've had a job. I do not ask anybody for money. I don't. Right. I do live off of what I have in my bank, okay? So if I need money, I buy and sell a car. That's what I do, and I'll make about $1,500 off of that. I can live on about $1,000 a year. So there you go. You know what I mean? So I think of that as a job, but for me to go work at Lowe's or, McDonald's or just something like that, because some people have suggested that, and that's awesome, that's awesome. But for me, and I mean, that it's such a deep question that you asked, but I'm going to put it just the way that I can put it. Being a woman and having the opportunity to bear children, that gives women, I'm speaking for myself, but I do believe that this is true for our gender, it gives us purpose. Like, you have a child and boom, your purpose. Like, you wouldn't commit suicide because you have to take care of somebody, you have to love somebody. So when you don't have family around you that's close anymore, or you don't have friends around you, you don't have any of those ties or association, and you have no purpose, and you're not needed anywhere, and to be quite honest, people look very down on you.
Right.
So your dignity's gone.
It's nearly impossible to go from here to employment anyways. But from what I'm hearing is that you want to be loved.
I want to be loved, but
and that healing, you need that healing for you to go to the next level. For you to get that self-awareness or self-motivation to go what we all think in society would be self-sufficient. I just met you, so I could be full of guacamole, but that's what I just heard, is that you're looking for acceptance and healing.
To be very blunt with you, I've looked for it for years, and I'm not finding it. So at this point, I'm kind of numb. I'm not the person I used to be, which is so heartbreaking to me. But anyways, so I've kind of given up on that, and I'm focused right now on what I can do, which is this purpose. So I've looked for my purpose, how I can help others, and what I can do for this world. And that's where I'm saying those jobs are wonderful and amazing, but I just know myself. I would go home at night and I have nothing else.
Right.
It wouldn't be enough for me. So I want to do something for work that gets me up in the day.
Right.
I've suffered from major depression, and when I get to that point, I can't,
Right.
It's like you can't get me out of it. So
Your depression is part of the reason you're out here.
it's very much. And my depression, partly my stubbornness, I'm sure, because I don't want to just accept, everybody else.
It's interesting you say that, because almost every human that I've ever met is very similar in that way, and we don't talk about it. And we don't want to raise our hand and say I'm hurting, and until it's too late, and and it's something about us. And I understand. I've been there. I do it myself. I'm there now, where there are things in my life that I should be raising my hand, and I'm not. And it's because I feel like, right or wrong, I'm going to fix it myself. And that's hurt me at times, and I'm sure at times it's helped because I did fix it. But it's okay to reach out and ask for help.
And I know that, but I don't know that.
Yeah.
It's
a process. But you got to get out of this. You got to get out of homelessness.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm just going to do it on my own, because when I have asked for help, which is so hard for me to do, it's not necessarily been there. Now, if you talk to my friend, it's like, well, it's not been in there exactly the way you want it. But that's just it. Like I told you about the cow thing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want somebody to do it for me.
Right.
I don't, that's not what I want. I want you to help me.
Yeah.
So I've made a plan, or I've done this, or I've got this, or, I've built this. So that boat, for example, I just wanted somebody to show me how to do this or that or the other to make it livable. Yeah. Like that's what I wanted, right?
Well, what's your future like?
So, let me tell you this, just to kind of give a more round. I didn't accept that. I never thought of myself as homeless, right?
And that could be part of the problem.
I tried to get out of my situation many times. I really didn't feel like I was homeless, right? Because sometimes I was in a trailer, sometimes I was in a van. So, I have shelter, right? Sometimes I was in a car, but then I tried to get out of it and I lost all my funds. And then I tried to get out of it by reaching out to somebody, and they had a plan of how I could do this, and emotionally they were going to help, and then they kicked me to the curb, and that's when I recognized that I was homeless.
I'm sorry.
Because when they kicked me to the curb, I still had something to go back to, but I knew that if I went back there, it became a graveyard, and I knew that if I went back, I'd never come out. So all I had was the street at that time. Now I had a car, so I stayed in the car, but my back just progressively got worse and worse, and I couldn't handle it. So this man saw me crying on the side of the road, and he was autistic, and he's a beautiful man. And he said, you can park in my driveway. That way you can at least have a heater. And I told him about my back, and he could see it. So he's like, well, he invited me in his home. He's autistic. He made some weird thoughts about men and women, right? I want to say he was innocent, but I have rules and I don't stay with men. So I didn't want to put myself in that position. So he said, well, I have a tent, you can stay in my backyard. So I lived in the backyard for a while, and then we came up with an agreement, because again, I don't want somebody to just give me something. So he inherited the home from his mom and dad that passed, and they were hoarders, and he's a hoarder. So I cleaned out his garage, I cleaned his whole backyard, and you're talking like we rented a 28-foot U-Haul truck, and we loaded it like 2-3 times. We loaded a trailer like 2 or 3 times, thousands of pounds at the dump. I did it almost single-handedly, and the deal was, okay, for 2 years you can stay in this backyard. And honestly, he offered 5 years, but in my head, I'm like, 2 years. You can stay in the backyard, we'll build you a little shed. And that was the exchange. He was also extremely lonely and needed someone there. His only living
So you're
partial
caregiver.
Yeah, partial relative was so grateful that I came into his life, because he has a lot of toxic people who try to take advantage of him.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it was a very symbiotic, we were both benefiting from that, so I was happy about that. And I thought, I just need a solid place, you know? If I can get this shed and do a little tiny kitchen in there and stuff and have my autonomy, I can do it. And they had a beautiful backyard, and greenery just makes me feel better. So I did all the work, and then he passed, you know? So, and it sounds funny, but I told him, because he always talked about how he's the oldest man in his family living, and I said, you better not die in front of me, because he was paranoid about dying, but I'm like, don't die in front of me, because I have a hard time with death, but he died, and so...
I'm sorry.
So I didn't have any choice but to go back to that hole, but now with more that I was dealing with. And so I went back to the hole for about good 5 months, but I wasn't supposed to be there. The property owner did not want me there. That had been going on for a while, so I felt guilty about being there because it's not my integrity, but I just needed a place to just die for a while. So I did, and
it sounds like you're still healing.
I wouldn't call this healing. It's like still like...
Well, you still have a lot of pain from a lot of different things.
Yeah.
From several traumas.
So, anyway, my integrity caught up with me, and I started evolving this purpose, and honestly, like, there's just been a few times in the last few years where, because every day I wake up and I'm just suicidal, like I just want to die, like that's where my depression leads me, especially when I go grocery shopping. I'm okay, but I am, because I would have done it a long time ago if I didn't believe in God.
But still.
But especially when I go grocery shopping, it's like, what a waste of food, because I don't even want to be here. So
you need to change your self-talk. That's what I did. I used to lay in bed and say, I want to die, I want to die, I want to die, I want to die. That's my self-talk. And even though I didn't believe it, I started saying, I like me, I love me, I like me, I love me. And it was hard to do. And every time I had those bad thoughts, I would change my thinking to say, I love me, I love me, I love me. And I would just repeat it. And now I don't have those bad thoughts anymore.
Well, so for me, it's like you said, but like it's every morning when I wake up, it's like this real heavy cloud. And so there's just been a few times where the cloud parts a little bit. So that's when I take action. Okay, I gotta get out. I gotta do this. And then I lost all my money. And then that people kicked me out, and then he died. And it's like things just keep piling. And so this is another chance. Like I have this purpose. I have this plan right now. This is another parting of the cloud. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. And I'm just praying that this doesn't fall on me again, because this last one, if it falls, it's going to be...
Oh, I'm just now recovering from the '08 crash, and I'm scared because every time I start getting back to a normal life, something bad happens. So I'm like just already thinking what's going to happen. So it's been good for a month. Oh my God, something. And I've got to change my thinking.
Yeah.
But you are... still have your age, and you're smart, and you're sober. I try never to give advice, but my suggestion would be are any of these service workers, social workers coming out offering housing? Because I would go in and heal and take care of you so that you can start taking care of others.
And I totally hear that, and I don't want to say but, right? Because I don't want to discount that. I hear that, and I have tried over 10 years. So I'm kind of at the point where it's like, I just need to move.
Right.
I just need this break into the cloud to just work, and I just need to move forward, and then I'm going to start healing as time goes on, right?
Yeah.
I'll get my dignity back. I'll get my ability to look in the mirror and like who I see. So, and so I have this plan right now, my purpose, and I'm starting my own YouTube channel. And that's why when I met you, I cried, because, like I told you, you have a lot of, like, I don't know, Steve Harvey, the Kramer guy that did the stocks. Like you just have so many people that say, oh yeah, I started homeless, and I don't know what that means, because does that mean you just slept in your car for 2 weeks, or was this real homelessness?
Yeah.
And homelessness can be chronic, like for myself, 10 years, like it can be a very chronic thing. So
exactly.
So it to be homeless or sleep in your car for a little bit, and to actually be enveloped by it, is a bit different. And so I feel enveloped by it. So I have this plan. I'm starting my own YouTube channel. I've got a goal. I've got the next 2 years of my life planned out, my actions, and my channel will be about my journey, right? My journey out, and crossing my fingers.
And as we talked about, I mean, I have several friends that YouTube, and they do live streams, and it's very therapeutic for them.
Yeah.
And I believe it's also educational for others.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about, YouTube is not your path out of homelessness, but it's your path to purpose.
It's my path to purpose. And that's exactly right, because I'm going to be working at the same time, so I can start getting funds, and I'm going to be saving, and you'll see the journey.
Yeah.
You'll see how I do it. But it's my purpose, and that's what I need to keep me going. I can go work at Lowe's if I have the purpose, right? If I know that there's something after that I can actually benefit the world. That's without having children, I have to benefit humanity. So my channel is going to be about my story out, but it's also not going to be just about me, and not just about homelessness. It's going to be about everybody, because it's based on 7 different categories in each of our lives that we have to focus on, and if we don't, it can implode the other categories. So
If you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
oh geez. Oh. You know, that's ironic because one of your episodes that I watched, I loved what that man said. And he was honorable. I don't know if I'm going to tell.
You're honorable too.
I know, but he said he'd give the last one away, and I was just so impressed by that, you know.
Well, you
He
can give
talked
them
about
that.
his
They're your
life.
wishes. You can give them away.
And honestly, I'm a reasonable person, so my wish honestly would be that people connect with God, because that's my personal belief that will keep you through any storm. It's the only reason I have not killed myself, to be very honest with you. It is the only
your faith.
reason.
Yeah.
And so I would just hope that would be one of my wishes, that people could find him, because I could wish for world peace, I could wish for poverty to be solved and things like that, but I think a lot of that takes choices, not only from the individual but also from people who are robbing us. You know, taking the money that's supposed to be funneled certain places. But so I would wish that people could connect with God and find the answers that they can provide for themselves and others.
Yeah.
That would be my wish, and the others I'll give away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very nice to meet you. I hope you find your purpose. And you've definitely brightened my life. And I think your story is inspiring in many ways, because people need to see that there's so many different types of people out here, and we're all struggling with something, all of us.
Yeah. And you know, sometimes you a lot of people do judge homeless people, and there's so many reasons. There's so many reasons, and there's so many people. And I had a lady last night because somebody in this park was in a real bad way, and I thought they were killing themselves. So I went looking for 3 hours for them, and I was so stressed out, so I sat down to pray, and I was just bawling, and this lady walked past with her 2 children, and she acknowledged me, which blew my mind because that doesn't often happen, you know? She acknowledged me, and she even acknowledged that, you know, she's only a step away from something like that, and so people need to realize that, you know. And then she offered me her pizza.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't take it. And so, and that's just to say that there's different people out here. Not everybody people aren't out here just because they want a handout. Some people might want some handout, but that's really not going to solve the problem anyways. And I don't think that everybody's like, it's just a variety, and I hope people can understand that.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you. I'm glad I met you.